And I'll just ask you guys, because this happens to me. I'll go to like a coaching session where I'm getting coached and I'll ask somebody, hey, explain to me how you did XYZ, or how do you think about such and such? And they will speak about it with such authority and confidence, and the way they'll talk about solving the problem. This used to happen to me all the time in tech. Like, there were so many people that were so much more sophisticated with technology than me, and they would talk about how you solve a problem. And it would be like, oh my gosh, how did I not see that before? It's so obvious the way you say it. And then I would leave the meeting and be like, oh my God, I can't remember what they said. It's like it was so clear and so obvious to me when they were talking, and now it's gone. And that's what happens with us when we're in that thrive energy. It's like, it's so clear, it's so obvious. You know exactly how to scale your business. You know exactly how to get those clients. You know exactly how to stack your revenue goals. It's all there. It's there. Hi everybody, it's Tina with Picture It Personal Finance. And today I'm speaking to my small business owner followers, because I want to talk to you about one of the biggest ways that I have found, and by biggest I mean like most impactful ways that I have found to really get into my business and grow my business and think strategically about my business. And this is going to be a mindset video, so be ready because it's a good one. All right, guys, I recently had a conversation with one of my clients, and he and I were talking about that feeling that you get in sometimes where you just feel like everything is just gelling, like everything's on point. You're thinking big, you feel really powerful, you are thriving. As a matter of fact, that was the language that he used. He was like, I'm thriving right now. How can I stay in this energy? And now I have thoughts on how best to stay in that energy. And we did end up working through that for him. And we sort of like came up with some techniques that he could use to help him stay in this sort of like expansive mode of being, because that's really what thriving is, right? It's about being able to see yourself as somebody who advances, and then being able to act on the things that you see that advanced version of yourself doing, right? So that you can really have that feeling of like, I'm accomplishing. And little sidebar, I'm a firm believer that that is the key to happiness. I really believe that we are our happiest when we are advancing toward goals and objectives that are meaningful to us. This is why it's so important to me that people find work that they love and then get their money life in order so they can keep doing it. Like, the idea of somebody starting a business that is a passion project, a calling on their heart, and then having to stop it because they can't afford their life or they can't figure out the money stuff and have to go back to a day job. Oh, that's like my worst nightmare for everybody who has it on their heart to be an entrepreneur. Anyway, I digress. We're having this conversation about how he is thriving and how he's been in this really expansive mode and how wonderful it's been. And so what I said to him was, journal that shit, put it to paper, get it down. Because here's the thing about that energy, right? Nothing in the world blooms forever. Everything goes through like think about nature. The trees bloom for a time and then their leaves fall away and they have to go through a period of rest in the winter when they're dormant. Same thing with flowers. I mean, the only thing that I know of that is perpetually blooming is the sun. That's burning at a high voltage all the time. Voltage probably isn't the right word there, but you know what I'm saying. Like that's something that will go like that for a very long time, and in the end it will burn out. And so I was really expressing to him that if we look around us, we know that we're always going to have these like highs and lows. Now, I think there are a lot of things that we can do to keep the highs high and the lows not. Like, it doesn't have to be like, oh, I'm way up here and then I'm way down here. It really can be like, oh, I'm way up here and then I come down to here and then I come back up here. Like, you can use techniques and be very conscientious of the way that you think and the actions and the choices that you make in order to sort of alleviate the highs and the lows and not have them be so dramatic, or have them stay on the higher end of the highs and the lows, if that makes sense. But the thing that you ultimately have to do is when you're in that high, right? That's like, to me, that's like when your CEO has come out. That's when your inner CEO has come out, and the CEO is the visionary of the company, and he's the big picture thinker. Like, he's the one where he's like, he's got the picture, he has the vision, or she, and she's ready to start explaining that to the manager and the employee. And I've talked about this sort of concept before, and I've heard it from another coach named Catherine Morrison, where she talks about your internal management system. This is especially for solopreneurs, but honestly, any business owner will understand this, that you have three parts to yourself. You have the CEO part to you, the manager part to you, and the employee part to you. When that thriving energy is on you, when you can see where you're going and what it's going to take to get there, and the answers are at the tip of your fingers, then you need to write that all down, because when that person like recesses, when that CEO, goes to Barbados for the weekend and the manager still needs to get the job done, the manager needs to be able to go back and reference that material. And then the manager needs to be able to direct the employee, that part of you that's going to actually do the legwork or assign it out to your virtual assistant. You need to have the insight from the CEO to convert it into a plan as the manager in you, so that the employee and you can follow through on that plan and get the job done. This is how it really works. This is how it works in a major corporation. And this is how it works even as a solopreneur. It's so fascinating. It's like a fractal, right? Like, all right, this is a little bit of the math nerd in me coming out. But have you ever looked at a fractal, at how it's like the same at every level? Like the more you zoom out, it's still the same pattern. This is true no matter the size of the company. You still have these three elements, right? You have the CEO, the manager, and the employee, which is the visionary, the plan creator, and the doer. And so when that visionary comes out and that thrive energy is strong, you need to capture it so that when that energy goes away, and I'll just ask you guys, because this happens to me. I'll go to like a coaching session where I'm getting coached, and I'll ask somebody, hey, explain to me how you did XYZ, or how do you think about such and such? And they will speak about it with such authority and confidence, and the way they'll talk about solving the problem. This used to happen to me all the time in tech. Like, there were so many people that were so much more sophisticated with technology than me, and they would talk about how you solve a problem. And it would be like, oh my gosh, how did I not see that before? It's so obvious the way you say it. And then I would leave the meeting and be like, oh my God, I can't remember what they said. It's like it was so clear and so obvious to me when they were talking, and now it's gone. And that's what happens with us when we're in that thrive energy. It's like, it's so clear, it's so obvious. You know exactly how to scale your business. You know exactly how to get those clients. You know exactly how to stack your revenue goals. It's all there. It's there. But you forget. When that energy is gone, you just forget. And it feels like, I don't know what I was thinking. I don't know how I thought that I was going to pull that together. What was that all about? And I'm telling you, if you can get back into that thrive energy, those answers will come back to you. I don't know why it works like this, but I have seen it work like this in myself and in many other people. So I promise you, this is the truth. So when you're in that energy and when you really feel like you have all the answers, I don't care if it's like 2 a.m. and you wake up with the answers, get a notebook and write it down. If it's on the bus and you're like unable to like access a notebook, pull out your phone and make some notes. I do this all the time. It's like, I have an idea. I call it my brain dump. I have like in notes, and I have an iPhone, but when you're in notes, you can create like little titles. So I have like probably 30 different notes that I have going all the time. And one of them is called brain dump. And anytime if I'm like going on a walk, and I've got the dog with me and I'm listening to a podcast and somebody says something that triggers this, like, oh my gosh, that's it. That's the answer. Like, I know what to do now. I will make a note of that, because I know that if I tell myself, well, I'll go back to that podcast later, or it'll come back to me later, like, it never does. I have to take action on it by capturing it right away. And this is what I'm encouraging for you. So tell me, guys, have you experienced that? This thing where you have these profound moments of clarity where you know exactly what you need to do and you feel like you're just overflowing with confidence, only to have it go away when you're not quite in that headspace? Like when your kids are telling you that lunch sucked, or when you're realizing like, oh my gosh, my call ran over and I have like 5 minutes to get to jujitsu. So this happens to me. I think it happens to everyone. I would love to hear your stories. So leave a comment below. Thank you guys so much for supporting my channel and watching. If you like this, please subscribe so that I can continue to grow, and I will see you in the next video.